Hi, fifth graders. We are going to start a new concept with our algebra today, and we are going to work on solving equations with variables. So before we start, I want to go over this word equation because it's different than what we have been doing. Previously, we were working with expressions, and remember, expressions have numbers, operations, and variables if they're algebraic expressions, but no equal signs. Equations, on the other hand, always have an equal sign right here. And both sides of the equation must remain equal. It's like a balance. It has to stay level. So the two sides have to have the same value. Today we're going to be working with equations. An important thing to remember is that whatever you do to one side, you must do the same thing to the other side. So here's an example of a very simple equation. And you can see we have a balance here that's nice and level because the equations have to be equal. So this is basically just saying an equation means that if you have 1 plus 2 on one side, that total value over here is 3. So the value on the other side also has to be 3. You're going to see right here, I put these on here as counters is what we're calling them. Another word for them would be numbers, because you can see the numbers up here. But an even more academic word for numbers that you're going to start learning now is integers. That's what these are. So any number, positive or negative, is an integer. So every time you see a number going forward, I'm going to refer to them as integers, and we are going to use these little counters to represent them on our balance. Now sometimes, instead of integers, we have variables. So when you see this little a, it represents a variable. Remember, a variable is a number that we don't know. We're using the variable in place because we do not know how many integers it is worth yet. Here's a balance where we can see there's an a on one side and 2 on the other. If I write that as an equation, I would write it as a equals 2. So this was a very simple one. We now know the value of a is 2 because all we have on this side of the equation is a 2 and all we have on this side is a. They must be equal, so that must mean that a is worth 2 counters, 2 integers. But what if we don't just have a equals? We have a and something else on one side and a number on the other. Well, we can make our equation with our counters and our variables again on this balance. So on the left side, we have a, 1, 2, 3. And on the right side, we have 5. When we talk about solving equations with variables, this word solve means we need to find the value of the a. So no one is giving us the value of a. We're going to figure it out on our own. In order to do that, we need to get the a all by itself. We want it to look like a equals something. A is worth this number. Well, in order to get this a all by itself, we need to get rid of these 3 integers. In order to do that, we do the opposite operation or the inverse operation that we see in our equation. So right here we have a plus 3. If I want to get rid of this 3 because I want to isolate my variable, I want to get my variable all by itself, then I'm going to do the opposite of addition and I'm going to subtract. So I will take this 3 away so that I can get a all by itself. So I'm subtracting 3 here. So now I just have a on this side of our equation. It's important to remember, I showed you this in the first slide, this is an equation. When we work with equations, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. So if I take 3 away over here, it means I have to take 3 away from the other side as well. I have to keep them balanced. I have to keep them equal. So I'm going to take 3 away from the right side as well. Now I'm left with just this a on one side and 2 on the other. So what we would do when we show our work, you're going to see we're going to make this like a long equation, and we're working it out down here. So we're going to see now we still have an a over here, but then we have 3 minus 3 is 0. And on the right side, we have our 5 minus 3, so we have 2. Now, we don't need to write plus 0 because any number plus 0 is still that number. Any variable plus 0 is still that variable. So what we're left with is a equals 2. That's solving an equation. That's what I just did. I solved this equation. I isolated the variable. That means we want to get the variable all by itself on one side of the equation. And we want to get to the variable equals what integer, what number. To do that, I got the a by itself by doing the opposite of adding and subtracting. I subtracted 3 from this side, so I had to subtract 3 from this side, and I was left with just a equals 2. I know that's right because if I plug that back in, if I put this 2 back into my equation, it works out. If I put a 2 where my a is, I would have 2 plus 3 equals 5. I know that works. So now I'm going to show you how you guys are going to do this on yours. Your slides look like this. You're going to get an equation right here, a plus 6 equals 9, and you're going to see a balance. You need to put the variables and the counters on the equation. So I'm going to put my a and my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on one side, and then I'm going to put the 9 on the other side. Oops, moved the wrong thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need one more. 9. See, they don't have to be perfect as long as they are definitely on the two different sides. And now I want to get the a all by itself. It says right here, the inverse of addition is subtraction. So to get a alone, I need to subtract 6 from both sides. So that means right here I'm doing minus 6. I can show that in my equation, or in my balance, by going ahead and deleting those 6 that I put here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just going to click them, right click, and delete. So now I just have a plus 0. Remember, if I subtracted 6 from this side, it means I have to subtract 6 from the other side as well. So I'm going to subtract 6 over here. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm left with 3. And I know that that's right because 9 minus 6 is 3. Remember, I don't need this 0. A plus 0 is the same as just a, so we can now find our final answer. A equals 3. You're going to do the same thing that I just did on your slides. You have 2 slides like for addition like this, and then you're going to watch another video about multiplication. So you'll do this slide, a plus 4 equals 5, just like I did. Figure out what does a have to equal, and a plus 3 equals 7. Just like I did, you put the counters and the variables on the balance and then subtract because you're doing the inverse operation until you get the a all by itself. When you're done, you're then going to watch another video about multiplication and how we solve those types of equations, and then you'll practice those on your own.